What's up, guys? Welcome to Make It Yourself. And for today's video, we're going to make ourselves a special tool, right? So this is a specialty tool that is needed to perform a particular task on Harley Davidsons with passing lights. So let's take a look at what I'm talking about. If you need to adjust your passing lights on your Road King or whatever, what you're going to need to do is get to the bolt here that's actually, it comes down from the passing light, and then there's a nut back here or inside of here that you need to get to loosen up, and that'll remove some of the pressure so you can kind of pivot the light housing up or down or whatever. So like today, mine are they're set very high, and I need to get them lowered down so that way I'm not blinding people as I'm riding. So in order to do that, you need to remove the lower housing for your turn signal, and then you're going to have to get around this wiring, and that's where the challenge is. So traditionally you would want to just stick a socket up there, loosen it, and whatever. The problem is the wires come actually through the nut or through the bolt that nut screws onto. So you need something to accommodate these wires. So that's what we're going to make. Let me show you what it looks like. All right, so here is an example of the tool. This just happens to be on JP Cycles site. It's a $14.95 socket, and of course that wouldn't, that's $14.95 plus tax plus shipping, because it's unless it's part of a bigger order, it's probably not going to ship for free. But if you see here, it's a pretty simple, it's a 9/16 socket, but it's got this unique cutout, right? And what that cutout's for is, like I mentioned, you got to let the wire, kind of essentially get around it, right? Because you can't get your socket up there with it being closed in. So you can buy this for $14.95, get it shipped to you, and be able to use this tool, or in Make It Yourself fashion, you can make your own. So here's my plan. I'm going to take a 9/16 socket that I had. It's a spare socket of mine. It is a deep well, and I'm kind of marked off areas, and I don't know if you can see that in the camera, with some Sharpie as to what I'm going to cut. So I'm going to cut my own, and what I'm going to use is an air grinder, and essentially just kind of use this to cut the two lengths and then across, and that'll give me essentially the same design as this. Now it won't be as pretty as that. That's probably done by a computer and a machine, not by hand. So I'll be creating my own hand tool essentially. Now, some things you're going to want to make sure you have on hand when you create this, and I'm going to do this as we work through the process. You want to use a vise, because as you cut this, it's going to get hot. It's metal. The friction is going to make it very hot. So you want to have a vise to hold it for you. You're going to want to have a good set of gloves, some mechanic gloves or whatever. And you're going to want to wear some kind of eye protection or face protection if you've got it, just because you are cutting that metal. You're going to have sparks and stuff flying. So you just want to, protect your vision, that kind of stuff. You definitely don't want to get a small piece of hot metal that gets up on your cheek or whatever. That burns like hell. So you don't want to deal with that stuff, and it just makes the overall experience a little bit better. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to get set up here, and we'll start going through the process of making our own hand tool. All right, guys, so here's our setup. We've got our vise clamped down to a table, holding our socket sideways, and I've got my first side upward so I can get to that. We've got our air grinder attached to the air line with about 100 psi on here. Now, I have a smaller tank, so I may have to take pauses, but essentially all I'm going to do is cut through and get it to that line. Now, I may have to switch to a Dremel just because it's such a small socket to kind of get to this angle, but I don't know, we'll see. Yeah, so that's kind of the process. I'm going to go ahead and get started, and we'll see how it goes. All right, so I've got the first two, cuts done. Those going along or parallel to the socket itself. I did have to switch to an electric. It was a grinder, but I put a cutoff wheel on it to kind of get the job done. My air compressor just, it doesn't have enough oomph to it to carry through on this metal. It's a lot stronger. So yeah, I just kind of switched over. I'm now on a point where at the base of this socket, it's a little bit thicker, so it's a little harder to get cut through. What I'm going to do is kind of just probably pull back about a 1/4 inch and cut it there, and hopefully that'll be enough where it's still, I can use it that way. Hopefully I don't need to go as deep. I don't think I do, but I think I was just kind of being overly cautious, or whatever you want to call it, thinking that I needed that much. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to rotate this so that way I can get a good cut angle on that base piece, and we should have a usable tool. So I got that part cut out. I'm going to use a magnet just to grab it because I'm sure it's hot as heck right now, so I don't want to burn myself. But essentially what I did is I kind of cut, let me get this in the camera, I just cut one of the angles out of it, right? This is all rough. I don't have a blueprint to go by. I'm making this up as I go to try to create this tool. So now I've got this set up in a way where I should be able to use it as the special tool. Now I'm assuming that I'm not going to have to crank down so hard on that nut when I tighten it down that it's going to be an issue with the missing support here, right? So like you would think, okay, is it going to expand on you, whatever. I don't believe so, but you know, I know what I don't know. So I'm going to just take a file and kind of round off these things just to pretty it up a little bit. Nothing that's necessary. Clean out any burrs or whatever. And then we'll give it a shot on the Road King, see if it works. And if it does, then I just spent 15 minutes and saved probably about 20 bucks, maybe even 25 bucks with the shipping on a special tool. So cool stuff, right? Okay guys, so here's the moment of truth. Like I said, you just need to remove the 2 screws that hold this up into there, and then you pull this back. There's a little like cutout for the wiring. Pull that there, take your socket, and there you go. It's a fit. So I just need to get a socket on here. I should be able to loosen this up enough to where I can start moving my passing light around and do the adjustments. Now I'm going to have to do that against the wall so that way I can see where they land. But ultimately, that's a whole different process and not really part of this video, other than to show you how to make your own passing light socket tool and save yourself a couple of bucks, because most of us have duplicate sockets laying around. And if you do, with a couple of easy steps, and it took me about 15 to 20 minutes to make this, you can get yourself up and running quicker than you expected. So what do you think? Worth the time, worth the effort to make your own specialized tool? Granted, it is only like a $15 tool if you order it, but like I said, you have to pay tax and shipping, and if you're like me, you get impatient, you don't have to wait for that tool. So it took me a whopping maybe 20 to 30 minutes to create that tool, and it's going to work. I still need to go through the process, but I got to wait for it to get dark and everything else. And again, the whole point of this video was just to show you how to mic it yourself when it came to a specialized tool. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it brought you some value and you're able to take this and make your own tool as needed. Or maybe it's something unrelated to this, and it's just, again, has to do with just making a specialized tool that you can do with simple tools around your house. And if you did, hit that thumbs up. If you enjoy my content, become a subscriber. We just broke the 500 mark. I'm super excited. I appreciate everybody's subscription. Again, just, you know, hit that subscription button, and if you don't want to miss out on that next video, hit the notification bell. And until that next video posts, I hope to see you in the win.